Good evening and welcome to Colorado Inside Out Live. I'm your host, Peter Boyles from KHOW Radio. Tonight, the discussion, the latest controversy surrounding the Columbine investigations. Following the release of a grand jury report 2 weeks ago, many of those affected in the 1999 high school shootings are feeling outraged. The report revealed that Jefferson County officials decided in a private meeting days after the tragedy not to disclose the essence of a 1998 draft affidavit to search the home of Eric Harris. Some people believe the rampage that killed 12 students and a teacher, wounded so many others, could have been prevented if this affidavit had been filed. They also have accused officials of conspiring to cover this up. Jefferson County officials have consistently denied a cover-up, but this report has raised new questions and given a lot of evidence and missing and shredded documents and ties certain people to roles in their disposal. But the grand jury found insufficient evidence to indict anyone, which is hard to believe as well. It is a sad and tragic moment. Please welcome to tonight's guests. These are people that I've gotten to know and people that so many people went after. And I think they sit here tonight, really, heroes may not be the right word, but certainly people that have come through so much and now stand here as people who were right. Randy and Judy Brown, they're Columbine parents who have been very active in this investigation. They're the ones who turned Eric Harris into the police over a year before the shootings. Brian Rohrbough, another man that I've gotten so much respect for, the father of Dan Rohrbough, who of course was a student at Columbine and one of the victims of that terrible day. Another man that I've known for years, and he clearly is, I think, the print investigative reporter in the city. Alan Prendergast is with us. He's a staff writer for Westward, was covering Columbine for 5 years, principal reporter for 60 Minutes, the 2 one-hour documentaries on Columbine, and written extensively on this tragedy from Westward. So we did extend, as you can well imagine, an invitation to District Attorney Dave Thomas to join the panel tonight. Quote, unfortunately, he could not join us due to an event he had to attend tonight. I put an earmark on this that the Aaron Harbor show, one of the colleague shows here on Channel 12, when the story broke, he did not show up there. I don't even know where to begin with this, but we have some charts I'd like to show people. We have done, I think for tonight's show, I think this may be one of the best efforts we've put together in a while. I want to begin with Alan. Alan, first of all, it's good to have you here on the show. I know your schedule's busy. The latest Westward, by the way, has Alan's latest piece entitled Anatomy of a Cover-Up that would urge everybody New Westward hits the stands tonight. Overview this. Take 5 or 6 minutes, put it in a capsule, and overview this for us.
Well, I think you did a pretty good summary just introducing it, but when Columbine happened 5 years ago, the Jefferson County law enforcement and some other officials in Jefferson County had a problem. And it was a public relations problem. It was a possible legal problem because there had been more police contact between Jefferson County law enforcement and particularly Eric Harris, but also with Dylan Klebold, before Columbine than they were really wanted people to know about. So we now know, 5 years later, that 3 days after the shootings, there was a meeting in an out-of-the-way office of Jefferson County officials, that this meeting included many high-ranking officials, the district attorney, Dave Thomas, the sheriff, the undersheriff, numerous other attorneys from the county attorney's office, captains, supervisors, and essentially they were there to discuss what to do with this problem. The most damning part of the problem is this document, which we're calling the draft affidavit, or the GERA affidavit. An investigator that the Browns had been working on this case from the Browns' complaint a year before, when Eric was making death threats on the internet, blowing up pipe bombs. They had gone to the sheriff's office. There had been several complaints. There had been related issues. GERA had taken this so far as to draft an affidavit to search Eric Harris's home. The decision was made at that meeting, according to this grand jury investigation, not to disclose that document. And in fact, they not only didn't disclose it, they lied about it for a long time to come. It didn't come out for another 2 years. And then other documents still haven't been produced today that we're just finding out that they had all these years. You have to understand that during that time, there was a campaign of disinformation attacking the Browns, trying to minimize the extent to which there was an investigation of Eric Harris before Columbine. And various people running for cover, various people saying, we didn't know anything, this came out of nowhere, there was nothing that could have been done to prevent this. These are the mythologies about Columbine that we've heard over and over again. We now know are not true. Officials knew much more than they've ever told us. They've hidden documents. And essentially, there's still no one accountable for this. I mean, the grand jury looked into this and found that there was nothing that they could issue indictments on. Of course, the scope of their investigation was very narrow. It was just what happened to this file. And I don't think they've gotten a conclusive answer there. They've seen evidence of shredding and destruction of documents, but they don't have anything where they can say this person needs to be indicted, even though we've seen violations of the Open Records Act, violation of court orders, court subpoenas.
What they did to these people, the rest of it.
Well, and I think what they did to the families of people who lost children like Brian, I mean, they have misled these people for years about what they knew and what they did about it.
I mean, just the shame of it is incredible. Like so many other people on our end of the business, I've spent many, many hours listening to people and reading and watching. And when when the wheels finally came off this, and you think, this list of people in Jefferson County and other people we know nothing yet about, shame on you for what you've done to these people. I want to begin. Where did the meeting took place? The 23rd of April, 1999. When did the attack in Columbine happen? What's that now infamous date?
Well, that's April 20th.
Think about this. I think, Brian, you had a statement while we were planning a funeral. Pick it up from there if you would.
Yeah, well, I was planning a funeral. Dave Thomas and the other officials in Jefferson County were planning a cover-up. And their intent was to lie to my family and to the public and say, we had no warning about these guys. This came out of the blue. You know, what little, attention they had received from us in the past, would have never let us see that this type of attack could happen. And now we learn not only, had they seen very serious crimes, they knew about the pipe bombs, they had evidence of exploded pipe bombs, they had the web pages. But now we've learned that they actually had tied in the fact that they were on diversion and they knew about the pipe bombs. And for 5 years, they've been telling us, well, it fell through the cracks. If we'd have connected those two, this crime would have never happened.
Yeah.
Well, now we know that the district attorney's office knew and the sheriff's department knew. And they did nothing except lie.
23 April 1999. Where does the meeting take place, this so-called secret meeting?
There's an open space building next to Dave Thomas's office, a little bit west of it. It's the Jefferson County Open Space Building, and I guess they chose it because it is rather inconspicuous. It has 20 doors, and you don't know really which one is the main door, and that's where they held the meeting. And it was a meeting. They were having a meeting, and they called other people to it. Officer Gerlach went to get Deputy Guerra. The county managers was there. The county attorneys were there.
Randy, who called the meeting?
Oh, I wish we knew. We only know sketchy items about the meeting. We know maybe 13 people that were there, and we don't know who called it.
Your best guess, it's whether you got an undersheriff, John Dunaway, you got John Stone, the then sheriff, you got the DA, Dave Thomas. I don't necessarily understand how bureaucracies work. Who wants to best guess who made the calls or said, get these people together? Who started this?
Frank Huffless. That's my
He was the county attorney, Frank Huffless.
At John Kickbush's request would be the best theory I can come up with.
And Kickbush was the lieutenant, the lead investigator.
Right. Totally involved in this before Columbine happened in the investigation. He saw the report by Guerra, involved afterwards, the lead investigator.
But fella,
it's a theory.
Help me. Would Kickbush have the stroke to call a meeting of this many people in the aftermath of this horrible moment?
On something this important, you bet.
I agree. I think that he would have.
We don't know everyone who was at that meeting. We don't even know if the county commissioners were there, if they were behind the scenes asking the county attorneys to organize this. There's clearly liability issues that were discussed at this meeting.
The manager was there, though. The county manager, Ron Holliday, was there, right? Is Holliday still on the job?
I believe so.
So he's still there. He might be watching tonight.
I don't know. But the thing I think I want to emphasize is that we don't know who's behind the scenes with this or who else might have been there. it's very clear that what happens at the meeting tells us a little bit about what the agenda was.
How long did the meeting last?
Well, Guerra was there for not very long, but he said the meeting went on after, and he may not have been the only item on the agenda. But you have to understand, this is the same time they're still clearing bombs out of Columbine.
Oh, absolutely.
And people have yet to have all the funerals. And already these people are sitting around a table, as we are here, talking about legal liability. They're talking about careers.
Cover up.
Yeah, they're talking essentially, okay, they bring Guerra in. Guerra is this investigator who I think was trying to put this case together. He was, by his own admission, somewhat inexperienced. He was told he didn't have enough to proceed. Other cases overwhelmed him. Whatever happened with that search warrant, it never got any further. But here, suddenly, everybody's interested in his file. They're passing it around, and with some relief, deciding there's no probable cause here. There isn't enough here to have served this warrant. That's Dave Thomas's blessing on the fact that Jefferson County didn't do anything about Columbine, these kids beforehand.
That's one of the big lies here is they say that there may not have been enough to act on this affidavit, and certainly there was, and judges have said that, and that's an absurd statement. But it doesn't matter whether there was or not, or what they were meeting about. They were meeting about Guerra's file, and that they decided to cover that up. Whatever is in it is criminal.
And Guerra was the guy that you guys met with, so the people know.
One thing you have to understand is for the first several days, and at least 4 days, they were saying that our report 985504 didn't even exist.
Right.
Steve Davis was telling reporters that
Everybody remembers, and Steve Davis, handsome guy,
Right.
and he was on TV, and
Yeah.
everybody said, what a great job you've done, Steve Davis. Was Steve there?
Well, he wasn't on my list, but yes, it's
Steve was at
confirmed
the
that he was
meeting.
there.
Now, this is a guy who everybody said they lionized Steve Davis. What a guy.
Yeah, what a
Right.
liar.
and he's the one that said at the press conference and went after our son.
Oh, I remember
So-
that. And that's when I
You
first
bet.
met you
and
guys.
he's the one telling reporters 5504 doesn't exist.
Do you remember Steve Davis was this very handsome police officer, always appeared in civilian clothes.
Nice guy.
Very nice guy, gray hair. Remember how handsome fellow? And everybody said, what strain he must be under.
Yeah, it's real hard to lie, isn't it?
He was lying.
You bet.
He was lying.
Yes.
He was lying.
He was.
He was lying?
The press conference, let me just try to clarify what they're talking about. The press conference, things were set in motion at that meeting, and subsequently we've had at least one person who drafted the statement that Steve Davis read at that press conference. That's sort of basically his response is, I was only following orders.
Ah.
Okay. Essentially, everybody said there wasn't much of this warrant, so we just sort of deferred to the superior judgment of these people.
Hasn't Davis now gone to another state, or hasn't he
He's,
left?
you know,
He's
he's
in
a,
Lakewood, isn't
yeah,
he?
he's
He's
a
in Lakewood
PIO
now?
with another department now.
Yeah.
But the point is, at that meeting set in motion this campaign of disinformation. I mean, essentially, what happens?
Does Davis know he's telling a lie out there?
We believe so. We've watched him in the press
Here-
conference, and
well-
actually he changes when he says the lie.
There's something more basic even than that. Everybody at this meeting sees Guerra's affidavit. That affidavit has certain information in it. It talks about a meeting with the Browns in 1998. It talks about matching Eric Harris's pipe bomb, the one he describes on the internet, to a bomb that's actually found detonated in Jefferson County.
Was that behind the blackjack place? Or was
No, that was in a field. But
All right.
but the point is, there are facts stated in that affidavit that shows what they knew about Eric Harris prior to Columbine. At that press conference, a statement is read, which has several false statements that say completely the opposite of that. These people knew about the affidavit, and yet in the press conference they make statements that are completely opposite and false. So I don't think there's any question. Now, Dave Thomas, of course, has taken the position, well, I was
Yeah.
at this meeting to give this advice, but I didn't know anything about any cover-up. Thomas is at this press conference as well. He says nothing to contradict what Davis is saying and what Kickbush are saying about how we didn't have any evidence.
Right.
There was no meeting with the Browns. We don't have any evidence of that. We don't have any pipe bombs.
Around the table, was Dave Thomas lying that moment?
I believe so,
Yes.
Absolutely.
and still is, and he's lied for 5 years and 4 months over this by not revealing it. And so,
But when he had
is
that,
everyone else
when
at the
they
meeting.
had that meeting, again, now we've talked about two prominent people.
When they had that meeting, you have to remember, they're saying 5504 doesn't exist.
That's
They
the
had
file.
no idea.
There are people that may not know 5504. That's when you went to them. This is way before Columbine.
We had a deputy come to our house and take a report
Right.
before we went to see the detective.
Right.
So we had two
This was
separate
it was about
working
Eric Harris,
reports.
not Dylan, right?
Oh, no.
It was about
Eric and
both.
Dylan are both on
Okay,
that.
all right.
And they're saying it doesn't exist. And you have to remember, we found the report number at home. Once we found the report number, then they had to start saying it existed. So they'd already had the cover-up meeting thinking the Browns won't remember a number. They won't have a number because they don't give you copies. And we had the number. Once we had the number, they knew they were messed up. But let me tell you, on 420, they were using 5504 to use on every search warrant to get in Eric and Dylan's house, every search warrant. So they knew they had it. They were telling the press there was no report. We came up with the number and messed them up. Then they had to scurry around again.
What role do you think Dave Thomas, who of course is now challenging Bob Beaupre for his seat? Thomas doesn't show up, doesn't actually return our phone calls. He may return phone calls to other people. Have you spoken with him?
He did not return my phone calls on these issues.
Okay.
No.
Now, what role does Thomas play in this?
Well, maybe I can answer that the best. I've had multiple meetings with Thomas, often with other families, for over 5 years. I have recorded almost every one of those meetings. Dave Thomas is now saying that he thought that search warrant, that everyone knew about it, so there was nothing to disclose. Of course, for all these years, he has never once said anything about that search warrant until it was released by a court order. You know, before that, he denied knowing anything about search warrants, or for that matter, said the sheriff wouldn't even cooperate with him and tell him what was going on.
Do you believe that?
No. And he played the game trying to collect information from the families, I believe, in an effort to return that back to the county attorneys to undermine legal action that families were taking, trying to find the truth about what happened to their kids.
Let's take a look at some of these people. Here's a chart, and if you could drop our crawl there and come in close. Now here's Kickbush, Lieutenant John Kickbush. His name now has come up many, many times. You believe Kickbush actually destroyed files? Do you believe that?
There's certainly evidence, yes, I do.
Well, yeah, the question is what sort of files. There's a secretary who
By the way, where
remembers-
is Kickbush now? For people who need to know, where is he?
Washington, D.C.
Isn't he working in private industry?
Right.
Yeah.
So he leaves after this happens?
Yes.
Do you believe that he destroyed files, actually destroyed them?
I believe that without question.
I believe it.
He's said that he shredded files, but that those were not originals. And whether anyone can ever, see, this is the reason we have no indictments.
Right.
We have no way to prove what these files were at this point.
But why, I mean, how can you not be indicted for destroying files?
Good question.
They were copies, he said.
Oh, well, that gets
And
away.
you can destroy copies. It's fine.
But you take his word for it and you think he's a liar anyhow.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't take his word for it.
You know,
think he's a
Peter,
liar.
we have only a glimpse of this grand jury investigation. What actually happened in the grand jury testimony, we don't know. We know from the investigators' reports, and the tapes of those interviews just got released today. We know something of what went on. But it's very clear that mysterious things happened that aren't necessarily
Did they all
something you can
happen
prove
in
against one person.
Alan, did they happen in a very short time
No.
period?
No, they're ongoing. Mike Guerra, the investigator who started this with the affidavit in the first place,
And where's Guerin now, by the way?
Garrett's still with the department. But here's what happens in an interview last March with
And you,
the
by the way, you
investigators.
believe Guerin's a liar?
Well, Garrett is a proven liar because he had to be interviewed 3 different times.
Now,
and his
if somebody
story
were,
changed.
this is a weird one, because I have so many questions. If Guerin were an arresting officer, an investigating officer right now, why wouldn't the guy's defense attorney bring Guerin and say, haven't you lied extensively? I mean, do what they did to, what was that attorney in the OJ thing? With the detective?
Furman.
Yeah,
Well,
Mark Furman. And why don't they Mark Furman him? And I mean, this guy, is this guy damaged goods as a law enforcement officer?
Well,
I mean, any of these guys
that's
damaged
a
goods.
difficult question.
No, that's
Apparently,
what I-
in-
yeah.
Maybe not for Jeffco. He
Yeah.
wouldn't be for anywhere
Well,
else.
I think to give some of these people some credit, there's certainly an issue about different memories after 5 years. But when you go back and look at what happened, Garrett talks about his file disappears for a few days, and then it's back in his desk.
Who took his file?
He doesn't know.
Does he have a lock on his desk?
One day, no, this was not locked in his desk. One day, this is after Columbine, his computer record of that draft affidavit is deleted, not by him. Now, you know, all of this suggests that there is an ongoing process within that department to bury and destroy information, and that there should be a larger criminal investigation than there has been, because there's a lot of unanswered questions about who did what.
I want to put a a who's who up on the screen up here. And this is the picture of the Jefferson County employees at the secret meeting on the 23rd of April, 1999. Who do they conspire to conceal the truth from families and from you, from the people watching? All right, the top name on the list, John Stone. I think enough said. Sheriff of Jefferson County, I think it just kind of ends there, John Stone. The undersheriff, John Dunaway, an appointee by John Stone. Where's Dunaway now?
Florida.
Florida.
Naples.
All right, Dunaway was in this meeting. And of course, the district attorney, Dave Thomas, you can see his name, if you would put that screen back up there, please. He was in, now, you believe that these first top three guys, Stone, Dunaway, and Thomas, were all involved in the investigation to cover up. Fair enough?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They
Alan?
were all at the secret meeting.
Well, yes, I think Thomas is equivocating when he says he didn't know about the cover-up. He certainly never
Okay.
did anything to contradict it.
Here's an assistant DA, Kathy Sezak. Please put that back up so people can see it, who was appointed to the AG's task force. You think she was involved in this?
Absolutely.
How so?
The commission meeting.
She was at the meeting.
They protected Dave Thomas at the governor's commission. Kathy Sazak came and spoke. They were asking for breakdowns in the diversion record.
And she tells Owens all this, she lies to Owens?
She tells Owens that they rode together. We've seen no evidence of that, and that was all she said.
Where's she now?
She's still assistant to Dave Thomas, of course.
County Attorney Frank Huffless, his name comes up quite a bit. Now, he quit, right?
3 years ago.
Tell when he quit.
He resigned, well, it was 2001, I think.
Judge Erickson was calling him on the commission to talk, and he picked
He
up his
bailed.
desk and everything in his desk and walked out.
Where's he now?
I think he's in private practice. He's not in politics at the moment.
Do you ever talk to Huffless? Ever tried to talk to Huffless?
I have not talked to him about this, no.
He quit.
Yes.
He was in the meeting. Has he ever
Yes.
spoken about the meeting?
No, he has not.
County Attorney Bill Tuthill, another name.
And the next two are so important because Tuthill and Huffless in the beginning and Lily Offler.
Put the
they're
thing
people
back on the screen, please.
When we do Freedom of Information requests to the sheriff's office, they're the people that field them and answer them. So they screen every Freedom of Information
And these
call that
guys are
comes in.
lawyers, too, which is always fascinating.
they're all
Peter,
lawyers.
I'll just say that when CBS News was going after that search warrant, when we had proof that it finally existed, we have documents from Offler and Tuthill both denying that this thing existed.
And yet, both are now where? Both are still county attorneys?
Yes.
Oh,
Still
yes.
there.
And Lily Offler's still there, and Bill Tuthill's still there.
Well, and it's even worse. Bill Tuthill actually helped the Harris family in court, the Harris's attorneys, in their confidentiality
Help me
attempt.
with that.
Well, they're in federal court. Brian, you want to tell that?
Yeah, actually, I think it was Jefferson County Court.
Sorry.
But Tuthill and Kate Batten, whose name also appears on there,
Yep.
and Lily Offler were sitting directly behind the attorneys for the Harrises, passing them notes
Why?
to help them in this court
To keep it
proceeding.
concealed.
Right, to cover up these.
Were they
to keep
there on
these
the
documents.
excuse me, fellows, were they there on the taxpayer's nickel?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
And I complained to the county commissioners about it, and they told me that Mr. Tuthill and Miss Offler were doing the job that they're asking them to do.
What was that job again?
Beats me at this point. But
But
they're
they were
multitasking.
actually there on behalf of the Harris family?
Yes.
Well,
No,
no,
they
they were there because there was a commonality of interest between the county, which wanted things kept confidential, and the families of the two gunmen who wanted some of the same documents kept confidential, perhaps for different reasons.
And so these two attorneys, and they're working allegedly on the right side of the law.
Yeah, and they're passing notes to Harris's attorney to be used in the arguments that are taking place in this courtroom. And it is at taxpayers' expense. But furthermore, with Tuthill and the other two, they're the ones who went down and lobbied the legislature to not hold the investigation to look into what happened at Columbine, telling them, we've released everything, we're honest people, and that these families are just making something out because they want
And
someone
these
to be
families
mad
meaning
at.
you guys.
Us and some of the other victims' families.
You know what's interesting, and it's almost that Army McCarthy moment, you know, when Barbara Welsh says, have you no shame, at long last, look at these names, Tuthill and Huffless and Dave Thomas and Dunaway and Stone. Have you no shame? I mean, all right, John Kickbush we've talked about. Deputy Dennis Gerlach.
Gerlach is actually fascinating. He's the man who picked up Guerra and brought him to the meeting. Now, we're not actually positive he was in the meeting, but he did drive Guerra there. But the fascinating thing about Gerlach is when we filed an internal affairs investigation complaint with the Sheriff's Department, he handled it. The
And it
man
went
at the
nowhere.
meeting is handling our internal affairs division complaint about the missing file.
Deputy Gerlach, how about Detective John Hicks? You
What
got-
can we say? John Hicks has lied from the beginning that we never met with him. And then upon release of the affidavit, I guess he realized he had.
And where is he now?
He's in southern North Carolina. Which one?
Was he in law
So
enforcement?
he's in law
Yes.
enforcement.
So he's still a cop now in South Carolina.
And
Right.
he wasn't questioned a second time after they found out about the meeting, and I have problems with that because
Me too.
I believe he lied in his interview.
The Deputy Guerrero we spoke about,
Jeff Schrader's
Jeff Schrader,
fascinating, too.
who's now a division chief in
Yes.
Jefferson
Right.
County.
Still working there as a division chief.
Now,
and
he actually
Unbelievable.
wrote the false press release.
Yes, according to John Dunaway.
According to John Dunaway, the undersheriff, Jeff, he's now division chief, correct?
Yes.
Alan, what's his role in this?
Well, he writes this press release that essentially is a statement to the world about what Jefferson County did or didn't know about Eric Harris before Columbine and what was or wasn't done with the Browns complaint. And as I said, it has several false statements in it that they knew had to be false at the time because they had Guerra's affidavit. Everybody studied that at this meeting.
Does Schrader know he's telling a lie?
Oh, absolutely.
Schrader,
He's
as I
writing
said,
the lie.
Schrader was one of the two people who made a response to the grand jury's report. I mean, if you're mentioning the report critically, you're allowed to issue a response. His response was essentially, look, I was in this meeting and Hutflis and Thomas said there wasn't anything to this affidavit, so, you know, that's why we did what we did.
And again, it's irrelevant whether there's an affidavit. They're concealing something, and he's writing a press release that says that, and no one mentions it for 5 years and 4 months. That's how well they kept this lie.
And he's been promoted.
Yep.
He's now a division chief. The county manager, Ron Holliday.
Yeah, the real question is, were the county commissioners at the meeting too? It's hard to believe they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Corruption in Jefferson County is unfortunately not just skin deep. It carries all the way to the commissioners without doubt. And the question is, were they at the meeting? And since they're endorsing Mr. Tuthill's activities
Yeah.
in court to support the Harris family, it appears that they were.
It's unbelievable, supporting the Harrises.
Yeah, and there's, some bigger questions out of all of this. This certainly appears to me to be a planned conspiracy. Without question, they planned on covering it up. And then we look at the next question of why. Now, I have always long suspected that they were aware of the danger that Klebold and Harris presented, and that someone had a relationship that stopped that search warrant from being acted upon.
Somebody had a relationship with the Klebolds or the Harrises?
Right. In law enforcement or in the DA's office.
best
that
guess
stopped
it?
this. I'm not sure. It's just a thought. The evidence fits it. I don't know for sure.
Somebody called
but
me
this
the other day and
reinforces
said,
that.
somebody called me the other day, and something that I'm familiar with is the Ishmael Menace shooting, and it was Dave Thomas who cleared everybody in the Ishmael Menace shooting.
He cleared the Denver SWAT team also in a letter that we can't get a date on. Randy just tried to get a date on it, and he won't date it. He cleared them before
Yeah, well,
ballistics came
I was
back.
gutted in court over that, and as you remember, and now it turns out Dave Thomas was involved in not that anybody did anything wrong or right or anything, but Dave Thomas was the man in the middle.
Well, if you can lie about this, what else can you lie about? And that's true with all these people. If they will conceal information from the public and from families like Brian and these people, their children are murdered and they would just want to know the truth, what else won't they lie about?
It's interesting, this meeting took place. I wasn't even able to see my son's body
I know.
till that Saturday, 4
know.
days later.
I know.
And these guys are having this meeting, doing this activity, and it's pretty overwhelming to think back, 5.5 years to what I went through, and at that time, I had no reason not to trust the authorities or
Yeah,
trust what
no,
they
I
were
know.
going to tell me.
All right, 2 questions. We have jam lines. We're going to the phones. Questions, what else are they hiding?
I really believe they're hiding something major, and I know this is just a theory, but here's the concept. They're having this meeting and they're discussing concealing this potential affidavit, and they have no liability for this. If they just say, hey, there was an affidavit,
Yeah.
we didn't see it, they have no liability, they're the police. But if they have committed a felony, they have liability. I believe they committed a felony, which was altering Eric Harris's police records or they violated their diversion program keeping Eric out of jail, and that they're responsible for this.
That there's some political stroke here?
Something serious.
Judy?
Well, we've discussed this theory. I think somebody in Dave Thomas's, I think Belapani possibly, who hadn't handled the van break-in, was working with these kids. I think he was saying, just butt out, it's my case, it's settled, the kid's on Luvox, he's in counseling, let's just let this go. It's a done deal, because on the 25th he's in court, on the 26th our case is closed out.
God.
And Officer Healy, you have to remember, is working on, Guerra is giving him the profile on Eric Harris, and Officer Healy signs the, as, I don't know how to say it, affiant?
Yes.
The same day, the 25th. I mean, within a week he's working on the same thing. So I think Healy and Belapani, and I think a lot of people are in on this, and I think they were protecting Eric, thinking they'd done the best thing. What's criminal about that? I don't know. They had to do something criminal, like keep it from the judge.
One of the most difficult things in all of this, I'm one of the few people who has seen the secret evidence held in a federal courthouse, and I was there for the depositions of the Klebold's and Harrises. Now, I can't talk about what I learned, but it is material to the conversation we're having tonight, and that federal judge is planning on destroying that evidence.
We have talked about this on 630 KHOW. For God's sake, pressure these people. Don't allow these depositions and tapes of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold's mother and fathers to be destroyed. If nothing else, it's history. In the future, historians will want to see it. Don't let that happen. It's like taking the statements of John Wilkes Booth's family and saying, we're going to destroy these. Don't let that happen.
Well, we certainly know that they're hiding things about what was done in the police response at Columbine the day of the attack. They have been caught distorting timelines, burying dispatch logs, misrepresenting what their officers did in the official report that was released. I believe that they're also hiding a great deal about police contacts with the Harris family, possibly with the Klebold's prior to Columbine. And some of this may be speculation that you're hearing tonight, but I can tell you one of the things that CBS discovered when we did go to court trying to get that search warrant affidavit was another document that had already been shredded and they said they had no more of. That was a timeline that had been developed on Eric and Dylan's movements in the year leading up to Columbine.
So they knew.
Well, I suspect, no, this was reconstructed after the attack, but I believe that timeline would have shown more police contact than they have ever indicated.
With full lines, we will begin. This is Tom. Tom, your thoughts this evening. Welcome to Inside Out Live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of thoughts here that I'd like to have comments on.
Sure.
The first one is that the thought that I don't believe Jeffco needed a search warrant. I wonder what would happen if they just called the Harrises and talked to the Harrises, and maybe the Harrises might have kind of taken care of things themselves. And the other thought that I got is this has been going on now for 4 years, and I think within the first month or two it was kind of obvious that Jefferson County was covering up for reasons of politics and liability, and it just kind of surprises me that it hits people like that does.
Well, but to the degree, I mean, we can speculate on anything, but when the evidence of secret meetings and who was there and what was done, like we say, you can believe the moon's green cheese, but when you get there and take a bite out of it, it's a different story. This is Jeff. Jeff, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff. Or, hey, Peter.
Okay.
How you doing?
Fine, man.
I have a couple questions. I kind of really wonder, what is this story really about? Is it something that we could have done to prevent the tragedy, or is it something we should be punishing now? Or is this a way, like on TV, that we can kind of blow up our steam about what happened 5 years ago?
No, I don't think it's any way on television to blow off steam. This is investigative stuff about corruption of elected officials and people with badges. And if you can't see that...
Is there a motivation for that, then?
Motivation by whom?
By the people with the badges, I guess. I mean,
Well, that's what we're trying to say to you. Look, let me try and make a point. Everybody's everybody, but when you give someone a badge and a gun, when you make someone a priest, when someone's a physician, when someone's an airline pilot, when you get down to when a teacher, there are people in our society that we have special trust because we give them special positions and we give them special power. Elected officials, prosecutors, men and women with badges and guns, as I mentioned, priests, rabbis.
Well, then, Peter, help me understand.
There's no more than that.
Number one, though, is it something we could have prevented, or is it something we should have, that we should be punishing
You can't
about?
answer that. Look, come on. It's over. The horses left the barn's on fire. Now you want to know is who set the fire. You know who set the fire. But the question is, did they see the kid coming over the fence with a gallon of gas and a lighter? Is that fair? And they did apparently see this kid, or at least think he was out there on the other side of the fence in the weeds.
Without question.
Without question. And when we get to points like this, these are issues of trust. You know, plenty of people, plenty of men cheat on their wives and lie. But when the president does and sits on TV and says, I didn't do it, then it's another story. Plenty of people do these things. This stuff is different. This is Lori. Lori, welcome to the show. Good evening.
Hi. Back to the positions of trust. I'm just curious, who were the county commissioners at the time?
Well, we know Michelle Lawrence.
Michelle Lawrence.
Was
And
Sheehan there?
Pat
Sheehan
Holloway.
was there,
And
I believe.
Holloway, Pat Holloway.
Because I remember them on the 911 tapes,
Yes.
laughing and having a good time.
Yeah.
But Peter, what this is about is more than, we still don't know what happened in the school. We don't know what the school knew. We don't know what the parents knew. We don't know what went wrong in the diversion program. We don't know what went wrong at the police department. How are we going to change anything to make sure this happens?
Well,
That's what this is about.
Many of these people still working, still got
Yeah,
jobs.
well, do you think anything has
Yeah,
changed?
some of them running for some of them want to represent you in Congress.
Right.
Do you know that I asked Dave, did you change your diversion record? And he said, or program, and he said, yes. And I said, could I see it? He said, it's not in writing.
This is Dennis. Dennis, you're on the show. Good evening.
Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Got two parts to the question.
All right.
First one, do you know if anybody from the school district was represented at the meeting?
Great question.
great question.
Wonderful
I'd love to
question.
know
that. Good question.
All right. Anybody in on that?
We don't know that, and I suspect, given the range of people who were there, I mean, I would think it would be deficient of the school district not to be there,
Yeah.
both to
Or at least to be
provide information
invited.
and to be
Yeah,
debriefed.
and be
So,
invited.
but we don't know for a fact that anyone from the school district
God
was
help
there.
them. God help them if they were there.
The
And next
second part-
question. Huh?
The second part of that is, Mr. Davis resigned after this meeting, sometime after that. So did the area superintendent for Columbine. And I suspect that they knew information they didn't want to talk about.
Folks,
Absolutely.
you believe that?
Yes.
Could be.
There may have been other motivations. I know Steve Davis took some opportunity in private industry that didn't, well, he's now back as a PIO. So
Yeah, remember
maybe
they
it
said,
didn't go.
I remember the Steve, well, I shouldn't say it but I just won't say anything about it, what I'd heard.
Okay, that's all.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Very good. All right. This is Gloria. Hey, Gloria, welcome to Inside Out Live. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just listening to the part where they said that the Harrises were maybe being represented by the district attorneys.
No,
Or,
they weren't saying represented. They were talking about, revisit that.
Essentially, there have been times in court when you have an interesting coalition of people. Generally, you have the families of the Columbine victims and the news media on one side trying to get information out, and on the other side, trying to keep things confidential, you have the county attorney's office and frequently the Harris and Klebold attorneys.
okay.
So
Now-
they're sort of sitting at the same
And-
table because they're the people defending, are trying to argue why information should be
Brian's
secret.
telling us a story, or maybe it was Randy that was telling us a story of seeing notes passed between Hoffless and Sazak.
It was Tut Hill.
It was Tuthill? I'm sorry, Bill Tuthill and Lily Oliver.
Hoffler and Kate
Yeah.
Batten. And
Passing notes to the Harris attorneys?
Yeah, they were busy scribbling notes and passing them between each other and then handing them forward to the Klebold and Harris attorneys on our dime.
Okay, now that's my point. Because they're attorneys, and they're billing their clients, and I'm sure the city is also, or the county's also, paying their attorneys. Somebody has to keep track of those. But my husband's an attorney, and his billings have to be so precise as why haven't
Okay.
those billing records been subpoenaed?
But these two of them, the county attorneys are on the taxpayer nickel. The private attorneys that were hired by the Harrises and Klebolds, they would have a billing record. These guys, I think, are just on a salary,
Well,
right?
no, but whenever something happens within the counties, they say, okay, it cost,
Fair enough.
100 billable hours.
Anybody on this?
Sure, we have, through Freedom of Information requests, we've requested billings from the county attorneys and outside attorneys that they have hired And they have a couple bills here for $200,000 and things like that. But through attorney-client privilege, they won't tell us what they're doing or who they're representing.
But they were there in court with the hair sitting behind.
They were.
And again, on that case, I asked the county commissioners about it, and they said that they approved Mr. Tuthill's behavior.
I know, but the dates of when those billings, I mean, you can go by the dates. I'm talking about the two private attorneys, because you can bet money they're billing the Harrison, their attorneys are billing them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Why hasn't anybody subpoenaed those billing records?
No one's subpoenaed anything.
The reality is there hasn't been a court case that's gone far enough to subpoena things like that.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Sue. Sue, you're on Inside Out Live. Welcome to the show. Good evening.
Hi, thank you. I have a question for the Browns and Mr. Rohrbough. I'm just wondering how they feel about residing in Jefferson County now after all of this has happened. Do they feel safe, and do they trust the powers that be for anything that might happen in the future?
Do you live in Jefferson County?
No, I don't. I did at the time.
If you did, would you trust them?
No, I wouldn't.
All right, you guys.
Well, I guess the way I would look at that is Jefferson County needs to be improved, and I'm not likely to run away and leave people like Tuthill and these other people alone to continue this, what I consider criminal activity.
Guys?
I'm just glad that my kids are out of school. I would never allow them in a Jefferson County school, especially with Mr. DeAngelis in that high school. Nothing's changed.
This is Steve. Steve, you're on Inside Out. Thank you.
Hey, I'm just curious. My question is actually, what is the best way to put pressure on these people like this judge that's going to quash information, keep it out?
Yeah.
I mean, is it to go through the media, or is there something local other than our vote?
This
is a federal judge.
Yeah, this is really difficult. There's a Judge Brooke Jackson in Jefferson County who's handling some documents and videotapes. You should call his office if you want to and give him your opinion on what he should do with it. A federal judge is a lot tougher, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to call his office.
He's a good judge.
Thank you. That's the information I was looking for.
Thank you. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Again, this has been, I think, an exceptional evening for all of us. This is Ron. Ron, good evening. Welcome to Inside Out Live. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you. I can't imagine what everyone around the table has gone through, and my heart goes out to them. I was going to comment on the timeline that you were talking about, and in relationship to the school, because I think that the school had an interest in this being kept quiet too. What with all of the national networks coming in and
well, you remember, I mean, it was such a horrible time. And when I first met Brian, remember when the two men climbed the hill and cut down the two crosses, one for Dylan, one for Eric? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was him. That was Brian and Danny's stepdad did that. And that's when that's so long ago when I first met these guys. I first met the Browns. And, I mean, think about the turmoil. And I think by the way, the new Westward's out. Please grab it. Alan's excellent piece. And he quotes Brian by saying, while we were planning a funeral, these guys were planning a cover-up.
I think it's just horrendous.
Well, I don't know. I honest to God don't know how these people are keeping their jobs.
The school was planning a cover-up day two. They had all the teachers and staff come in, and they lawyered up and told the teachers, do not speak without a lawyer.
Was there, I hear rumors of a meeting that, caller, thank you. I heard meetings of rumors of what happened in a meeting where teachers stood up and said things.
Mr. Horvath, the dean of boys, tried and yelled at Mr. DeAngelis.
You said this has actually happened?
I've had 3 teachers separately confirm it.
I've heard one tell me this story.
And say that he yelled at Mr. DeAngelis saying,
I
told you to do, yes, I told you to do something about this kid, put his head in his hands and sobbed openly, and every teacher saw it, and teachers are afraid to come open publicly and tell that story.
Have you heard that story?
I have. Well, I heard that story from Judy. In fact, I think I've heard it from one of those teachers, but it...
Have you heard that story?
I have.
Have you spoken to a teacher about it?
No.
I can give you a teacher
I've heard the story from a teacher.
And how many people were in that meeting? All the staff?
The entire staff. And it was we're in this together kind of meeting.
And the teacher's name who stood up was?
Mr. Horvath, Dean of Boys. Now, that is the man that Dr. Rushke, an assistant principal, said, Mr. Horvath told me Eric Harris was on the edge of losing control. These people knew about pipe bomb building. They knew they were in diversion. The school...
They knew about the movie they made.
They knew about the movie they made. They knew they had broken into computers and stolen locker combinations. And for Mr. DeAngelo to say, I know nothing, and still be the principal,
and you
has a real issue
you
with
said that
that.
this man stood up in this meeting. I've heard
Yes.
this, and
Yes.
yelled at him.
Yes.
You knew.
I've heard it, yes.
What were the words,
And,
I realize we're paraphrasing, but the closest you can make to an exact quote that allegedly was said?
I told you to do something about that kid. Why didn't you do it?
Let's remember that Frank DeAngelis was also the diversion contact for the diversion program at Columbine High School and denied even knowing these kids initially, and he's still principal there.
Roxanne, good evening. Welcome to Inside Out Live. Hi. Roxanne.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I heard a beep and I'm like, huh?
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, when this happened, I was living in Nevada.
What's your question for the group?
What can we do to fix this? Tell us as a community.
All right.
What can we do?
Well, one of the things you can do is vote. You're going to have 2 new county commissioners this fall.
Okay.
And I think that if you're going to clean house, you probably have to start somewhere around there. You're going to have a new district attorney, and we now see how important it is to have a district attorney who is going to take seriously questions about misconduct of other public officials and not be compromised himself by that. I think some of the suggestions that others have talked about in terms of trying to get informed about what's going on in these public records cases, the information that is still being suppressed. We were just talking about the school district. They have a report that they did for their attorneys that they're claiming attorney-client privilege on. It's never been released, which was essentially their liability examination.
Now, wait a minute. This was taxpayer money paying for a report for a tax-supported school system. And nobody can see that report. Is that right?
That is right.
And nobody can see, and this is not part of the report, the disciplinary records for Eric and Dylan.
Why would they hide those?
Well, gee, why do you think? Because they're twice as thick as anybody else's. I know somebody that saw them. They're full of disciplinary records. Do you think they want us to know that?
School districts are also political monsters and basically need public people to show up. I mean, show up at public meetings, essentially, citizens to show up and say, look, it's important to release this stuff.
So again, at the taxpayer nickel, thank you, ma'am, at the taxpayer nickel, this lengthy report exists.
Yes.
No one can see it.
Right.
There's, the other thing that people can do is they can call the Attorney General's office, they can call the Governor's office, and they can say, how much do you have to see before you do a real investigation? Because I think public pressure could get this looked at.
Because incrementally, these people were leaving.
Yes.
I mean, I think after the last couple of weeks, and maybe after tonight, maybe a couple other people will hit the bricks.
Or maybe say 13 people murdered is not enough for you. How many will be enough for you?
Wow. This is Barbara. Barbara, you're on the show. Good evening.
Yes, thank you. I was concerned also about the principal's position, reading that he had never known Klebold and Harris.
Yeah, I didn't know these
did.
kids, right.
And also the second part is he escorted students out and he never came back in the building.
No, he was not allowed back in. He went in twice.
And why hasn't he been investigated?
Well, he wasn't. The police would not allow him to go back in. I mean, I know that.
Okay, but his denial is perjury.
How so?
Because he lied.
Well, I don't think, did he ever swear that he didn't know those kids?
Yes,
I mean,
well, according to the Rocky Mountain News, he did.
Not under oath.
Well, he wasn't in court to say that. No. All right, let's go here. This is Keith. Keith, you're on Inside Out Live. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
While you're talking about on the taxpayer's dime, the Jefferson County also paid for the criminal attorneys of the police officers who went before the grand jury.
That's right.
Absolutely true.
So I don't believe it's surprising that the grand jury didn't go anywhere when you're paying. They're all on being paid for by Jeff.
The weird one is Thomas's role now in other cases.
Yes, that should be suspect. If I were a criminal attorney, I'd be challenging every case he was involved in.
Oh, and every one of these cops.
Every one of them.
Every one of these cops that, I mean, it's every police officer that is involved in this, that was in a meeting, bring them back in, say, we're going to retry this. You've lied. We think you've lied. If we can prove you.
This is where Brian's question about how you get an independent and broad enough investigation is a really important one. Every time someone has tried to get something done at a county level here, You're talking about trying to have the people investigate themselves. You're talking about going to Dave Thomas to have a grand jury about what people knew when he was at that meeting.
Sure.
You're talking about
He's
an
not gonna
open
let that
records
happen, is
task
he?
force on which 4 or 5 of those people were on that task
They're not
force
gonna let
and had
that
a
happen.
stake in keeping things secret.
It has to
So
happen.
you have to have someone outside of this system who can look at all of this. And, you know, to Salazar's credit, he was looking at one narrow question, and look how much came out of that. If you actually looked at a broader range of questions, you may be able to do more.
Thank you, sir. I mean, you really got to thank Salazar on this one.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Salazar took the bit in his teeth on this one.
Why didn't the grand jury ask that they needed more? How can they do that in one day? Interview 15 people, make a decision without saying, wait a minute, we'd like to have more. What kind of a grand jury is that?
Well, who ran that grand jury? Tell the people who ran the grand jury.
Well, I don't know.
Who ran the grand jury?
I know who was there, but I don't.
It was a Jefferson County grand jury.
No.
No, it was
No,
state.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
It
but who
was
ran the grand
state.
jury?
Well, I know Michael McIntosh.
Okay.
Michael Jones was there.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
Salazar's investigator.
Right.
And, you know, one of the things I was going to say.
We're close to a timer, and I want to give everybody a last comment.
Okay, yes, Salazar has done a good thing with this, but they didn't look at all the evidence that was available to them on this particular question that they were looking at.
It's a powerful night. We will begin as we ended as we began. We have a minute. Final comment on this one?
Oh, sure. You want to know what you do? You call Governor Owens and you tell him that he didn't do his job, that as governor he should care about things like this and he should have a grand jury investigation or another investigative team like he had with Erickson with subpoena power and get to the bottom of this.
Agreed.
I'd like to have everybody. Brooke Jackson now has their journals, their medical records, the videotapes. They're going to go back to the Harrises, and they're going to go back to the police department. They will be destroyed. Please,
Don't let it
please
happen.
contact him if he gets pressure, because he's voted in.
Right.
If he gets pressure from the citizens, he'll do the right thing. It's up to him.
Yes, sir.
Nothing we learned from this date forward will help my son, but it may help yours. And that's why you need to be involved and do something.
Alan.
This is a textbook case over 5 years of everything government should not do in terms of being open with its own people and in trying to alleviate the suffering of people who go through a tragedy like this.
Remember these characters. Remember them, remember them, remember them. Shame on them. And more than shame. It's all the time we have tonight. It was a powerful show, perhaps the best in a while for all of you and for you at home watching. Next Wednesday night, we'll be talking about fast tracks. And tomorrow morning on 6:30 KHOW, we'll start off again at 5 a.m. in the morning. Good night, and keep Channel 12 on the air for just stuff like this. Good night.